Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Thanks for your patience. In the interim, if everyone can, and I see people doing it, if you can go ahead and make sure that you put your information into the chat, your name and agency you represent. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well.
Ready for the holidays?
That is what I should be. I've managed to buy one very small gift. So no, Dorothy, I am nowhere near.
Understand, trust me. Ready, but not prepared.
There you go. There you go. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in this. The city has a webinar and I can't.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. It is 10:05. Thanks for those of you who signed on right on time or before, and for your patience. I wanted to give a few more people an opportunity to join before we launched into the agenda, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, thanks everyone for being here. Happy Thursday. In my world, I call it pre-Friday. It makes this day go a whole lot faster. So everyone, please just sit back. We're going to have a short meeting today. Not going to keep you all day. I know you all have plenty enough on your plates, so that as soon as we're done, after questions and answers, what we're going to do is go ahead and give you some time back. So as it says here, to track attendance, we're asking everyone to please, in the chat box, go ahead and put your name and the organization that you represent so that we can have that. And also know that our meetings are always recorded. They are put up on our YouTube site for your reviewing pleasure at a later date, or if you have someone who had to miss the meeting, they can always go on that site and get the information. So let's go ahead and launch into the agenda. Thanks, Mar. Go ahead to the next one. So I'm going to go over a few updates first. I do have to apologize in advance. I do have a conflicting meeting that is starting at 10 o'clock as well. So I'm going to do my agenda items. I'm going to jump over to the other meeting and then I'm going to jump back. That's the beauty of virtual. Now, you know, in the other world, I wouldn't have been able to drive back and forth, but hey, in this virtual world, we can just click in an instance. There we are in another meeting. So I do apologize in advance for having to leave, but I will come back. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started with my updates. And so the thing that you have heard some about, and if you have not, just know that the city of Chicago, along with CPS and the mayor's office, we're in the process of working on and creating the next iteration of our application that will be launched in the spring of 2022. We are working on that between us. We've got vendors working with us. We're trying to simplify some of the processes. And one of the iterations that we have wanted for a very long time is to move that application to a point where you can go on and have families go in and actually apply 0 to 5. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish in this iteration of this application, is that prenatal moms who want to apply, moms who want to enroll their children birth to 3 and also 3 to 5. And so that's what we're working on. It's a lot of work ahead of us, but we started already working on it, and we believe we will be successful in getting this launched in the spring of 2022. With that said, there's going to be some follow-up conversations with all of you, because we do want to make sure that you are engaged and that we hear some things from you regarding the application. And so early next year, know that we're going to be wanting to come to you and hear from you about the application and also its use. One of the things that we want to do when we have an application system is make sure that we have data on all of our families in that system. And so for your birth through 3 and prenatal moms, all the way through your preschool age children, we want to make sure that all of that data is represented in that application, which means an application for every family. We're going to be talking more about that. We're going to be hearing from you about how to accomplish that. But again, this is something that I'm putting out there for you to start thinking about now. Early in January, we're going to come back and we will want more information from you. So this is an opportunity for you to take some time talking to your staff internal about this opportunity that we're going to have, and then thinking about what does that mean, and barriers or pluses, or what's on your mind on your side of the house, thinking about another application launch. And so it will launch in the spring, but it will be open all year round. It's not going to launch and then go away. It will be open all year round, because we do recognize that you enroll year round. You don't have a early bird stop and then nothing more. This application is going to continue year round for you. So more to come on that. I just wanted to put that in your ear so that you can start thinking about it and thinking about your questions, so that when we're together talking about it, we can get your feedback so that some of that can build into what it is we're trying to actually create on the other side of this. My number 2 bullet point is federal monitoring. We know that we have federal grants. I will want to say to you, we have 3 separate federal grants that are on 3 separate project years. Yes, they are all starting December 1 and ending November 30th, but the start of the project is the start of that actual funding source. And so our EHS expansion grant is in its 3rd year. Our EHS CCP is in its 2nd year, and our new Head Start Early Head Start is in its 1st year. And so with that comes federal monitoring. The federal monitoring really aligns to the year of the grant, and we're working with Office of Head Start right now on monitoring events for our specific grants that we have for Office of Head Start. This is specific to Head Start and Early Head Start only. In order for us to start this, we have to start doing some testing and preparation for what we know is coming in next year. And so we're going to start testing some portions of what we will have to have in order to be successful. The first one we're going to test is URSIA files. What that means is, because we know we have data and information in COPA, but you have hard copy files at your sites. And remember, when we did the FA2, we had to get those hard copy files. The monitors were here at DFSS reviewing those files. We're anticipating that happening. And so we will be testing URSIA files early next year. Saying this to you now, letting you know early next year, we're going to want to get files and begin this process of testing. And again, testing is our preparing ourselves for this emerging event that we know we're going to have. Where are we? What do we need to work on? Where are we strong? Where are we weak? What do we need to change, edit, do? That's what we're going to start our process of doing right now. We've been doing some internal work on that. Now we need to start engaging you in some pieces of the testing. URSEA files will be the first thing that we'll be requesting from you early next month. Okay, just want to put that out there. So again, giving you a heads up. Know that when the monitors are here though, we're not going to get this much of a heads up, right? So what I want you to do now is get your staff to pay attention to those files, because URSEA files is a key piece of this. Knowing that every child is eligible is what that file needs to determine when they look at it. They need to be able to, with their calculators, and they literally sit with their calculators to make sure that we are not off in our calculations when we said, yes, a family was eligible. And so make sure that your files are ready. We will be testing. When I say testing, we'll give you some list of names of files that our staff will be retrieving. We will be going through them and coming back and letting you know what we see. And then if there's anything that we see, we'll say what it is that we need you to do on your side to ensure that your files are ready for the review for the federal monitors. And so that's going to be the first step of what we're going to be doing in our preparation for what we know will be a federal monitoring event. Want to say again, enrollment mandates. I know we are still in a pandemic. Right now, our cases are going up in every state. Now we have a new variant, Omicron. That variant right now seems to be extremely transmissible. What I'm hearing, and I'm just giving you what I'm hearing. I am not a medical doctor, and I'm not going to profess to be one, but I'm trying to keep my ears open to what's going on out there. That those of us who are vaccinated and have had boosters seem to be faring well. Even with this virus, if you do catch it, it is really wreaking havoc with those who are unvaccinated. I say all of that to remind you, our children that we serve, 0 to 5, are not able to be vaccinated yet. And so with that, please continue your mitigation strategies at your sites. Continue to do what you've been doing, making sure that you're keeping yourself, your children, your families, and everyone safe. I can tell you that from my looking at where we are with information, I can say that right now, I do know that there is about 14 cases that have been reported through sites in the month of December. I will tell you that that is down from August and September when we were seeing 20, 23, 24 cases. And so it's always great to see the numbers go down. I do know some of you are going to close over the holidays, and then you're going to be up and open again in January. You've got to be really cautious when you reopen, because again, this is a holiday season where parents and children and everyone's going to try to gather. We know that from that gathering, every time there's mass gatherings, we see upticks. And so I'm asking you, all of those who have been doing this, and you've been doing a stupendous job. I'm just going to say this to all of you. Everything that you've done in your programs to keep yourselves, your staff, your children and families safe, your mitigations have truly been working. I can tell you from January to now, January 2021 to December of 2021, as of today, we've only had 290 cases across all of our sites and programs. All of our sites and programs reported. That's absolutely great work on your part, and I give all of you the credit for that. You're catching it, you're stopping it at the door, you're doing everything that you need and should be doing. What I ask you to do is continue those strategies. They are working, they are working, they are working. When you are enrolling families, you need to be honoring yourself and letting parents know how you've made it through a pandemic. We're still in it, yes, but how you've been able to keep your children and families safe. These are the words that parents right now need to hear from you about how the mitigation strategies are working in your house, that you've been able to keep children and families safe, your staff, yourself. All of those messages are the messages that need to be out and about in community. I'm going to message it, and I'm going to ask you to do the same. Parents need to understand that the strategies are working. What I'm asking is that we understand Christmas is coming. January, we're going to reopen, and we got to be strong in our mitigation strategies to make sure that we keep ourselves safe and keep those numbers down. I'm going to move on now. And enrollment mandate. Remember, enrollment mandate means what? That by January, we know, and I see your hand up. I'm going to finish these and then I'm going to acknowledge your hand, Dorothy. Just give me a moment. Enrollment mandate, the federal government, Head Start, Office of Head Start, wants us to be full enrolled. They're going to start in January of 2022, looking at enrollment. If we're under enrolled, consistently for 3 or 4 months, then we go on an enrollment mandate. I will tell you, as of today, we are doing great in Head Start as far as our enrollment. We got it up. We need to keep it up, keeping families enrolled and children in care. We're there and we're okay with Head Start. Where we are still struggling is all of our early Head Start funding. All three, early Head Start CCP, and early Head Start expansion, we're still struggling. And so I'm going to be talking to you to try to figure out what do we think is going on and what we might need to do. And so if you have some ideas on that, we can share some of those as soon as I finish this, because we need to be thinking through strategies for our early Head Start programs as well. The last one, and then I'm going to come to hands up, Csd Staff Transitions. I do want everyone to understand, as a result of our loss under the Head Start grant, meaning the funding that we lost, yes, we are refunded. Yes, we are the largest grant in that 6 grantee recipient list. Yes, we are. But as a result of losing the funding that we lost, we've had to restructure our division. And as a result, our division will be much smaller going into tomorrow and moving on. We have a much smaller team. We have had some Csd transitions. We are going to be working up and sharing with you early next year our new organizational chart. You will understand then who your supervisors of your teams are, your team leads. You'll see exactly who's on our team and how we've restructured, and we will talk that through in our January meeting, so you're aware of the changes here. Just like there's been changes out there, some of you who were the recipients of those awards, you've expanded, and what we've had to do is we've had to reduce on our side of the house. And so we're doing everything that we can, and we're going to keep everything moving. We still have a structure that allows us, we believe, to be successful, but understand that there are some transitions, and we are a much smaller team than we were in the previous years. And so we'll talk through that. I do want to say that there's some individuals who did leave our team. I know that Seth Rich, who was with us, has left. Latasha White, she left on her own prior to, but as of yesterday, we did have a couple of people who were on our team who are no longer here. And so we've had our opportunity to let them know and thank them for their service. But again, what you will be getting is information on a restructure. 2 of the supervisors, I know Janice Taylor, who was a supervisor, is no longer with the team as well. And so we're restructuring. And that's why I'm saying to you, we will, in our restructure, let you know who your supervisors and team leads are as we move forward into the new year. And so more information to come on that. And so, Dorothy, I do see your hand up. And so I'm going to go ahead and take your questions really quickly. You can unmute yourself, Dorothy.
Can you hear me now? You hear me? Yes. My
Yes.
question is in relevance to enrollment under EHSCCP and the criteria. We received the scope of service several days ago, and I noticed in the scope of service, it was indicating that each program or delegate must have 75% of its families who are eligible for a CCAP. That seemed to be much higher than what I thought I read in one of the IM's report, or it was either in the IM report or it was in the protocol questions for EHSCCP. And I know, given the current status of where our clients are, where our families are in the city of Chicago, and with the current workforce, we are all struggling there. And so that really, my question is, our percentage seemed to be higher than what was indicated in those documents that I reviewed.
Yes, and there has been some shifting. What
Okay.
has not shifted, Dorothy, is our boilerplate, and that language comes directly from our boilerplate out to you. And so
Okay.
we have some internal work to do.
Mhm.
And so we are going through IMs right now, and what all of you will get, if we are able to make sure to change our current mandates, we will be sending information out to you on what our expectations are across all of our early Head Start. And CCP specifically, we do know that ours has been higher. I acknowledge that.
Mhm.
And so what we're working on is making sure that we do some alignment with Office of Head Start. The one thing I do want to say to all of you, though, I want everyone to understand also, as we're moving forward with this, that CCAP has some flexibility in it right now that allows for parents to get enrolled for 3 months before they start working. It gives a parent who needs somewhere for her baby to go while she's looking for a job or getting back in school, which finds them eligible for CCAP and Head Start or Early Head Start in your program. And that's not to negate what you're asking me about, Dorothy, because we do need to do some alignment with that. But we also need to make sure that we're making sure parents understand that there's some flexibility with CCAP. They would be eligible for CCAP for those 3 months. You would be reimbursed for those 3 months. They would be eligible for Early Head Start, and that would mean that you'd have your Early Head Start enrollment as well. And so I just want you to think about some of those other strategies that we need to do in order to get more families enrolled in program and understanding what the opportunities are. Also making sure that we understand homeless and Head Start. Homeless families are, they are eligible for Head Start, Early Head Start, categorically eligible. So we just need to think about those communities and pockets out there where we might find some of our families and make sure that we can get them into our programs. But again, to your point, we will be making sure that we align all of ours. Information that comes directly out of our boilerplate, we were not able to change. If we were to do that, your contracts would have been 3 months later. Didn't want to hold up on anything, wanted everything to get out the door to you. So we went ahead and let those contracts go out.
Thank you. Appreciate that clarification.
You're very
My
welcome.
other question, and I don't want to dominate, but I just had 2 questions. My other question was in regards to, and I know that when I was out over the holidays, there were task force regarding the CEL manual updates. But due to the current workforce, and many of us are challenged, maybe not all, but many of us are challenged with recruiting candidates to fill vacant positions. And I was wondering if we were going to request a waiver from the Office of Head Start so that we can maybe grow our own, candidate staff. You understand what I mean? If we could grow our population, because that is really a challenge for us at this time.
Absolutely. And to your question, yes, we are working on that. We are trying to get a census of where all of our staff are. So as we're asking for a waiver, we know exactly what we're asking for. And so that's some of the work that we've already started. We will be asking for a waiver. We recognize, and so does the Office of Head Start, this is a national issue. This is not just Chicago. It is not just Chicago recipients. This is national. And so this will be something that we're looking to do. But in order for us to do that, we have to have a real clear understanding of where we are with each of you and what your opportunities are for, to your point, growing your own, those kinds of things. We're doing everything that we can with scholarships across the state, not just here in Chicago. We are going to look at other places where we can start actually posting open positions so that other people in other places can see that there are positions available. If they're moving to Chicago, they need to know Chicago has some available positions. And so we're looking at being much more flexible and working with you on some of that. But we have a challenge, and it is a challenge for all of you, and we get that. It's a challenge across the board, and we need to be responsive to that by actually applying for a waiver so that we can make sure that when we get an audit, for example, that they can see that you have staff that are meeting the current criteria or acceptable criteria. But with that said, I also want to say to everyone, the one piece of documentation that everybody will have to have in everybody's file is a professional development plan. Even if a person is not eligible, you have to have a professional development plan and saying what that person is doing in order to become qualified for the position. And that's going to be the document that will be reviewed, and we'll be working to make sure that we have those as well. And so to your question, yes, is there work to do in order for us to accomplish it? Yes, there is. Are we on moving on with that? Yes, we are. And we're going to need some information from all of you as well. I don't see any other hands. Do you see any other hands, Mara?
No.
Thank you. As I said, as I started, I was going to finish mine. I needed to jump off. I'm going to jump off to another meeting. And when I get back, I will hopefully get back in time to answer other questions that anyone has. So please If you have questions for me, I will be back and I will respond to those shortly. So thanks again for joining us today. I'm going to now turn it over to my next team and let them go ahead with their announcements and updates. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Director. Good morning, directors and DFSS. I want to give a few updates, and I want to spend some time on one of these topics, which is the OHS webinars that we've been involved in at DFSS. In terms of COVID reporting, we know that COVID is making another round. We have a new variant. I don't know how much longer we're going to have to get boosters, but I didn't do too well with my last booster. But there is an uptick. You all aren't seeing it because you're reporting it to us. So I just wanted to make sure everyone, all of your staff, are reading those Csd updates, where in the last update, we did talk about the reporting format for COVID. So make sure that if you have positive cases, just as you reach out to CDCH, DCFS, and you report those cases, we also have a reporting form that we're asking that you send to your lead, your team lead, for staff and for children. The OHS webinar training series, we have been blessed to be able to participate in Region 5, a training series of various topics. The latest set of topics that we've been involved with are around resiliency and trauma. And for those of you that have been rolling this out with your staff, it isn't an easy topic to deal with, as you know, but it's very necessary, and it's a conversation that we will be engaging each of you in as we move into the new year. So let me share a little bit about what we discussed on December 9th with the Region 5 training series. And those of you that are also new grantees, well, that's not the word, is it? Sub-recipients and recipients. If you are on this particular training, then feel free to open your mic and say what you took away. But one of the things that we took away from it is that we're going to have this as something that's rolling on our agenda, because it's important to bring this information to our staff and to our families. And so with this particular one on December 9th, it included the Center for Childhood Resilience and Trauma at Laurie Children's Hospital. And so they were our hosts, along with STGI at the region. One of the things that they focused on was trauma really manifests itself as behavior. And we see that coming out in children. We also can see that in staff from time to time. They also describe the types of trauma, that there's historical trauma, there is complex trauma, there is trauma that impacts us differently. What could be traumatic to Dorothy may not be traumatic to Scott, for instance. They also talked about inequities across cultures, race, inequities within gender, inequities across the board, and how some of the historical inequities that happens when you are a shared group of individuals, how that impacts you. And so we got into some really deep conversations. I don't know how many of you have seen the Dow study, but Yale has updated the Dow study. They went over to Italy and they had the two Dows. One was a Dow of color. The other one was a Caucasian Dow. And they asked these children ranging from about, I'd say about 4 and up, They asked them a series of questions about these dials. And questions like, who's the prettiest dial? Who's the dial that appeals to you most? And not surprisingly for some of us, when they asked the very last question about which dial is the better dial, the children gravitated to the dial, the Caucasian dial. And these were mostly children of color, Black and brown children, and in Italy. So we know we did this first study was in America, but they went to Italy to do this study. And the results were basically the same. So we know that we have much more to do in our programs. And so I'm bringing this up because two of the questions that they asked us, and I want to pose it to you today. And if you have any comments, feel free to either put it in the chat or unmute. The first question was, how do we promote racial and ethnic pride in our children? How do we promote racial and ethnic pride in our children? The second one was, how do we help staff to recognize their own bias? These are weighted questions, but they're tough questions, but they're questions that we do need to go back and work with our staff and work with you around. And so I want to stop for a minute and I want to get some of your feedback and see what you have to say. If you've used these strategies, you know, how you've used them and what they brought out for you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So before I get into those two questions, B, I do want to share some data from the trauma training that we did first before we address the racial inequities. So the first stat was more than 50% of children ages 2 to 5 experienced a severe stressor in their lifetime. So just think about that, how as adults, we have our own stressors, but we are servicing children birth to, most programs birth to 5, or some of you may have school age programs, but they are experiencing stress, you know, outside of the classroom, hopefully not inside, but keep that in mind. 1 out of 10 children ages 0 to 6 have witnessed a knifing or shooting. Half of the reported violence occurred in the home based on a parent report. 1 in 8 children ages 2 to 17 were maltreated by physical, sexual, or psychological abuse or neglect from the year 2002 to 2003, based on estimates from a national survey. So I think we all know that within this time when everyone was at home from COVID, those numbers are different. If they introduce those numbers, they would look totally different. So we do want everyone to keep those things in mind when they're interfacing with the children and the families that we serve in Chicago. And keep in mind that we are in Chicago. And those numbers are more than likely true.
Thank you, Martins. Dr. Echols. Dr. Echols, your mic is on if you wanted to say something.
Okay, B, well, I'll step in. Can you guys hear me? Okay, just to piggyback off of what Martise was talking about and how we know we live in Chicago in the inner city and all the violence that take place, just not, out in the communities, but also in the homes. And we also have to reflect back to our teachers. So our teachers have, some biases and things that they have learned or things that they have seen. And we have to make sure that some of those biases or things that they went through, they're not actually subconsciously teaching some of those things to the children that they're teaching. And so that's something that, we talked about during our session while watching the webinar. So keep that in mind as well.
Thank you, Nicole. Directors, we really are interested in hearing from you about if you have approached these topics. Interested in hearing any strategies. So to get you started, we received the PowerPoint presentation from Region 5. And so we will be sharing that with you all, the teams. We'll be sending that back out to you. And so that may help you in your discussions with your staff. But this is a topic that we really do need to engage around. If you have ideas about the best way you would like to engage around it, smaller groups, larger groups, just let us know. But this is something that we will be delving deeper into as we get into 2022. And as I said, it isn't an easy conversation and it makes you feel a little uncomfortable at times, but uncomfort is not that bad when you're going through it with people who you know and you trust. And we're going to get to the other side to help families, communities, and children. And our staff. This was a primer for us with Region 5. And in January, they're going to do a deeper dive. And so as they give us information, we'll be bringing it to you so that you can replicate it with your sites. All right, and with that, I am going to move to disability services updates. And Gina Pasella, are you on the line? I know Gina has another meeting that she's involved with ODLSS, but Gina wanted to talk about the memorandum of agreement that we are getting from ODLSS. We're working with the other recipients in Chicago to come up with a memorandum of agreement that will guide our relationships and services with ODLSS. We are off to a good start, and I think we can continue along these lines. Our hope at DFSS is that we have a signed memorandum of agreement very soon, within the next couple of weeks, because as Sarika mentioned previously, we will be coming up on an FA2. So we need a cooperative agreement. Gina also wanted to share some good news about where we are now with our disability percentage based on cumulative enrollment. And it looks like at this point for this program year, we are above our 10%. And so hopefully if she joins us, she can talk a little bit more about that. But you all have done an awesome job. Your disability service coordinators, the support service specialists that are here, as well as the disabilities team that we share with ODLSS. It takes a village to make these things happen, especially in the circumstances that we're dealing with the pandemic. So thank your disability service coordinators for an awesome job, and let them know that we need to go ahead and keep that above 10% percentage throughout the year. We have also submitted, and I think I shared this with you the last time, a waiver request for the program year 2021. There were only a few agencies that did not reach their 10%. And so we will be rolling out more of those data clinics and other strategies to be able to work with you early on in the new year to be able to reach that 10% requirement. Any questions about any of the topics? Gina, are you on? Can you unmute?
Hi, BS. I'm so sorry. I'm here. I was having audio difficulties.
Okay,
I'm here if there's any questions.
okay.
Hi, I just wanted to know about kind of going back to the first point on COVID reporting, where we can find that report, if you guys could all mail it out or send it to us somehow. And or if there's a link, if you could just put that in the chat, that would be great. And then I specifically wanted to know for home visiting programs, I didn't know if this was just like center-based specifically, or if you do want home visiting programs to participate. And then what the frequency of the reporting, is it weekly, I'm assuming? And then if you want just the kids, or do you want like households? Because
Yes.
our work is more with households.
I think that's an excellent question. And we will get the report out to you. The teams will be sending the report to the agencies, to their assigned agencies. In terms of home visiting, I believe that we have received some home visiting COVID reports. And right now, we're not asking for a frequency. We're just asking that you update us when you have positive cases. So, you know, if there are staff cases, if there are child cases that are impacting your particular site, we ask that you send that. This particular report is a running report. So just work with your assigned team leads, and they can walk you through the report and what we're asking. Any other questions? All right, Gina.
Thank you. I think we covered the major highlights for today. I wasn't sure if you were able to talk about CPS Transportation this morning, but I know that that is a concern for all of our programs, that CPS is experiencing a shortage of bus service, routes, bus drivers. I understand based on a meeting this morning that it's a national issue. It's not just local, but this is a nationwide concern. And so our chief of ODLSS, the Office of Diverse Learner Supports and Services, is very much aware of these challenges and is working diligently with staff and with other stakeholders to see what solutions can be made for children who are not accessing their services. We are, of course, concerned. Our last look at the data was 60% of our children are receiving their IEP services. Of course, we would like to see 100% of the families and children receiving services. We are working on a case-by-case basis. And so if in fact there are challenges, we're assisting the families with providing technical assistance, ensuring that all the steps are followed, ensuring that if the family wishes to obtain a stipend, a monetary stipend from CPS while they're awaiting transportation, that they know how to apply for that. And so we're all just kind of working together, but this seems to be a larger issue even than at Chicago Public Schools.
Okay, thank you, Jean. All right, are there any other questions for us before we turn it over to quality? I see that someone put the case report for COVID in the chat. Thank you, Martise. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to William.
Perfect, thank you, B. Good morning again, CSD directors, program directors, and stakeholders. A few updates to share with you. As Ms. Dorothy has mentioned about our workforce, a great update is that this year, with the help through the funding of our Chicago Early Learning Workforce Scholarship, we were able to congratulate 38 of our scholars who have achieved their professional educator's license that pales with the ECE endorsement. So again, I do understand our workforce, we're struggling to get qualified individuals in the classrooms, but as of right now, looking at celebrating these 38 individuals, that is 38 more teachers that we have with those professional educators license. And so I just wanted to kind of shoot that out as an update from our scholarship. And also something else we're looking to do to support our workforce and you as our partners. I am working on planning our job fair and open house. We have some tentative dates for upcoming in January. I'll get those dates out, but what I would like to do is if you're able to, individual agencies and their sites, if you can just forward me via email, william.hill@cityofchicago.org. I'll put that in the chat, william.hill@cityofchicago.org, a contact name and the list of your open positions at each of your sites. And that'll help us really compile, thank you, Tamela, that'll help us compile, the needs. And it'll give us a great starting point as to, the amount of positions we have open across our programs. And so therefore we can help guide some prospective teachers and staff in the right directions in trying to mitigate this workforce shortage. Another update as it relates to our trainings. We're currently, today at 3 p.m., we had our first orientation on yesterday at 9:30 in the morning as it relates to our continuous quality improvement. So we're working with National Lewis for providing this moving forward with continuous quality improvement. It's a on-demand type of training piece, but it's a few modules as it relates to supporting leadership through collaborative learning and also coaching for success. And our participants as of right now is closed, but we will be looking to run this CQI again in the new year. But our participants are able to get 9 professional development clock hours by completing these 3 modules. And it's a great opportunity, as well as we're looking to build this common language of continuous quality improvement. I know most of us are rated gold, but with our gold circle of quality, it is very important that we again continue to build upon that already high level of quality ranking. So with the CQI, it's just about building strategies and systems of support for our teachers and our individual staff who are actually doing that direct work in our classrooms. So again, please look out for more information as it relates to our upcoming series of continuing quality improvement. Our TA suites from TSG will be returning in January as well. But I do want to make sure I acknowledge that if you are having any trouble as it relates to tagging or color bands, up until we start running the TA suites, please do not hesitate to reach out again to myself and or Tamela, whose email is also in the chat as well, for any of those TSG supports and TA that we can provide until again the suites begin in the new year. And that wraps our updates for quality at this moment. Let's see, have our deputy returned, or if there are any questions? There's none in the chat, I see. But would anyone like to unmute and ask a question? Tamela, your hand is up.
Yes, I just wanted to also emphasize how important those IIN numbers are. I just got an email from my staff. We are still missing teacher IIN numbers. We need them to report. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you for that very important update, Tamela.
William, if I might, I did forget to do one update.
Yep, go right ahead, B. Thank you.
Thank you. Martise, I just wanted to remind everyone about HASAT, which is the Health Services Advisory Committee. If you could just give us an update on that.
No problem. Thank you, B. So the 3 subcommittees, we will reconvene in January. So please make sure you check your CSD updates. If you're not receiving those updates, please let us know so that you can be added to the listserv. So if you missed out, I'm sorry you missed it. It was amazing. So I will share the 3 action plan goals for each content area. So for health services, the goal is to train family service workers, incorporate cultural diversity, sensitivity topic for training of family service workers on mental health and wellness, promoting relationship-based practice and include follow-up expectations. And for FCE, we would like to develop a platform or system to distribute and access resource information in real time so that information can be shared with Chicago early learning families in a timely manner. And for education and disabilities, the goal is to increase the number of children who receive IFSPs and IEP services using the following objectives: increase the number of delegate agency staff who participate to provide support in this area. We would like to create a focus group for Chicago early learning programs to have a platform to learn from each other. Number 3, educate parents regarding the importance of their child receiving special education services. And lastly, educate families about Chicago public school options. So of course, if you have not been involved, let us know so that you can be added and you can get these updates. And we would like to again thank Christopher House and Kimball Daycare Center and Salvation Army, because during that HSAC meeting, we did ask for agencies to share their wellness plans with us, and they did share some activities that they were engaged with their staff. So we would like for everyone to actually keep that up, especially during these trying times. It is December, it's the holiday. 2021 has been difficult for a lot of people. So kind of keep that at the forefront and check in on your staff as well as your families. That's all I have, B.
Thank you, Martine. And Catherine asked, who is the health lead for TNC? For now, you can send me any requests for TNC. As you know, Seth was taking over TNC while Nicole Craft left us. And so now it's me. So I'll do my best. So while we are waiting for some people to rejoin us, I believe that she's back on the line. But is there anything from the directors, any announcements, anything coming up that you would like to share with us? Or just good news overall? We need some good news. Nothing you want to share? All right. Well, I don't think Sareka would want us to stay on the line any longer than we need to be. And hopefully, well, I see the Mara is Sareka on the line, or who's giving this update?
Hi, good morning.
There she is. Hi, Nicole.
Hi. I will be giving the fiscal updates, and we have about 3.5 weeks left for our HHS grants for the FY21 period to get our final invoices in. Our expenditure rates are pretty low. Head Start and Early Head Start are 84 and 83% currently, and CCP is 59%, and expansion is 62%. So I encourage you all to have your teams review your suppliers and ensure that you have all of your invoices in. If there's any rejections or deletions sitting out there that haven't been resolved, please reach out to your fiscal contact so that we can assist. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. We can go back to the state grants. For ECBG, we are currently at a 13% expenditure rate, and CCAP, we're at 15%. And for any 2021 related expenditures, those invoices should be submitted by January 11th. All right, for a closeout, please reach out to your accountants. For Head Start, the accountant is Sharon Davis, and for CCP and expansion, it's Laverne Coleman. Again, those invoices should be submitted no later than January 11th for FY21. And as well as the short period for Head Start, Early Head Start, August through November, Sharon Davis is your fiscal contact, and those invoices are due January 11th. And CRF bridge funding and corporate RTL funding that ends December 31st. Those invoices should all be submitted no later than January 28th. Sharon Davis is your fiscal contact for the CRF bridge funding, and Laverne Coleman for corporate RTL. FY22 award letters have already began distribution. For direct provider, I believe all of those were distributed earlier this week with December 27th and 28th return dates. Please feel free to submit your budget forms to your fiscal and program contacts early to give us a head start on review for those. You will be hearing from your fiscal contact regarding December 21 invoicing. We will likely have to, depending on approval of those budgets and issuance of your standard release POs, we may need to report invoice accruals for December 2021 to our comptroller's office, but we'll be reaching out at some point in January regarding that. For PI and PFA, we should have your invoices submitted at least through the period covered of November 30th. And again, a reminder that no 2021 related invoices will be accepted after January 11th. Please reach out to your fiscal contact, Monica Almanza, if you have any questions or concerns. Childcare, same thing, any 2021 invoices should be submitted by January 11th. Invoices should currently be submitted through November 30th. And Selena Ruan is your fiscal contact for childcare. iSupplier updates. Our OBM office is currently working on moving the entire city from Excel budget forms to a complete electronic process. And coming up in January, they will be holding an external stakeholders meeting. We're looking for anyone who would like to participate in that meeting. Please reach out to me at nicole.roberts@cityofchicago.org, and I'll ensure that you get an invitation to that meeting. Your feedback is going to be extremely important during this process. They are looking at a late spring, early summer date for this to go live. So please reach out. The meeting will be January 4th from 10 to 11:30. So if you or anyone on your staff would like to participate in that, I'll put my email address in the chat. And I have here the link for iSupplier training and reference materials. I suggest that and encourage your teams to take a look at that. It's always updated for various trainings that our budget office holds in regards to invoicing and iSupplier. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. And Sarita will be joining us if she isn't on. She will be joining us in a few. Are there any questions for Nicole? Someone asked Nicole if you can share the training minutes again.
I just wanted to double check who the team lead, the health lead for Team C is.
Hi, Catherine. You can send it to me.
Okay.
as we During this transition.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so Rachel asked that we just give her a couple of minutes. She's jumping off one call and she's going to bounce back on this. So again, I would ask that if any of the directors have any updates or any announcements that they'd like to make, if we could use this time to do. I'm looking in the chat and Ken asks if there are any maps that show the new Head Start, early Head Start recruitment boundaries. And then Sandra asks, will DFSS offer trainings on COPA? So DFSS, if anyone has a response for either of these questions, if you would unmute and answer.
Hi, LaShonda, yes, you can go ahead and submit that invoice on January 14th.
And then in response to the question about the COPA trainings, we are in the process of adding some necessary fields for some of our various programs. And so once we finish the update on COPA, we will be running a COPA training for data entry, especially.
Do we know timeline wise when COPA is going to phase out to a new system? I know that's been mentioned in the chat. I was just wondering. If there was any update there.
If anyone from DFSS can respond.
We can't give us a certain date for that yet, because that project is very much still in development. We are looking for, Rachel mentioned that we're going to have a new application. The current application system is based in COPA, and the new one will be with the same vendor that provides the Go CPS school application for CPS. We're working on integrating those, but around the time when that launches in spring, we should have a product available for people to log into. We'll begin the process of migrating to a new system. The way our reporting requirements work, we'll probably need to also remain in COPA at least until we are able to produce year-end reports of July and August of next year. And we hope to, around that point, to make a transition to having a new system in which that takes care of all of our data and program management needs. It's going to be a gradual process of change management that's going to take a big chunk of 2022. But you'll be hearing about that soon in the early months of 2022. But I can't be more specific than that because I don't want to make a promise about a date that we're going to move to a product that is still in development. I'm in 4 hours of meetings about that today alone, but it's going to be a long process.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am back. Don't know if I've missed questions because coming back in means that I don't see any chat before my signing back on. But I did want to come back really quickly, jumping from another meeting, coming back to see if there's anything open-ended, anything that anyone needs from me, any questions before I close the meeting. So I'm just going to hesitate for a second before I do that.
I'm sorry.
B, go ahead.
There was a question in the chat from Ken about the Head Start. If there are any maps that show the new Head Start, early Head Start recruitment boundaries.
We don't have a map right now for the recruitment boundaries. We were trying to wait on everything to settle between us and other grantees. I think we are at that point now, and we can go ahead and get some of those maps done. We have an early one. The early one is no longer relevant due to some changes. And so that is one of the things that we are doing is mapping where we are and making sure that everybody understands. Again, I know this is new for those of you who are the 14 Head Start, Early Head Start, and it is only relevant to you, Head Start, Early Head Start on that base grant. The CCP and expansion is not relevant to you as far as what we're going to be talking about when we talk about recruitment boundaries, but we will need to come back to you. We will be able to talk to you about who else is in your community so that you're aware of that and making sure that we are doing everything that we can to enroll and remain in our boundaries. One of the other things that's relevant to that is, for example, if you are wanting to shift slots for any reason, if you have a partner under you and they're not able to fulfill their obligation with you from what you have worked on with them, then you've still got to find something within that same community. We can't just move slots out of a community without doing a scope change with the Office of Head Start. And they don't want us to even discuss a scope change if we have not been able to show them that we've done everything we could to do and exhausted our opportunities and possibilities within the community where those slots are currently, because the recognition is that there are families in these communities who need services, and we are not in a position to just move the slots. And so that's the work that we have to do in order to continue with moving forward as we are now for our Head Start, Early Head Start. And so we're going to go over all of that. We're going to show you the boundaries. We're going to talk about what we have to do, how we will work and partner with you as we move through this. And so understand there's been some movement, there's been some corrections. We've done some work on this, and we will be wanting to make sure everybody understands what it looks like. Any other questions, B?
There is a question from Megan in the chat. Those of us who no longer are under other delegates, will we still see changes to our COPA accounts? We are currently still listed under our former delegate.
And to your point, for those of you who are no longer funded under DFSS for any funding stream, and some of you, those fundings will end at the end of December 31st. And yes, your COPA will change, and those access to those accounts will change and shift as well. And so there is some work that we have to do to clean all of that up. One of our issues, of course, is our PIR data is still connected. And so I have to work with Craig and others to make sure that whatever we're trying to do, that we're doing this correctly, that we're not, causing more issues with what that data needs to look like in August of 2022. But yes, there will be changes to COPA. Accounts will shift. If the account shifts, for example, from us to another grantee, or if you're under another grantee, some of that shifting should have already occurred because they have their own instance of COPA. If you're shifting not to anyone, meaning you're not funded from PFAPI, you're not under someone else, then that's when there will definitely be a close of COPA. But if you have funding PFAPI, but no longer EHS or EHS-CCP, then you will still have access for those children that are funded under what it is you will be remaining funded under starting January. And so, yes, there's some moving and shifting that we have to do at the new year. And everybody will be explained, for lack of a better term, how this is going to work and what's needed. Any other questions from anyone? All right, I don't see any other questions. I don't see any hands raised. So I'm going to go ahead and just cover just one item, and then I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting. The one thing that I do want to talk to everyone about, you may have heard, you may not, but in the state of Illinois, there's some movement and shifting on how early learning is going to be looking. Part of that would be really implicated if Build Back Better actually is funded, because there's a lot of dollars in the Build Back Better Act that will be coming into states specific for early learning. And in the Build Back Better, it references Head Start consistently and Head Start standards, performance standards, and those words are all across there when it speaks to early learning. But with that said, the state of Illinois is moving forward based on the commission report and has a new Department of Early Learning in Illinois Department of Human Services. What we're looking at in the state of Illinois is making sure that in each region or regional area, Chicago, because of its size and complexity, is its own regional area, that there are going to be data systems that houses the data for all early learning in those communities. And so here in the Chicago area, and that's one of the reasons that I had to shift to another meeting, is we're putting together what's called the Chicago Early Learning Childhood Integrated Data System. We have a data warehouse. We talked about it before, and I'm going to show you some of the wireframes in our January meeting. But the state of Illinois is setting up and standing up data systems in the various regions, Chicago being one. There's been a lot of discussion, and there's work right now where all of the 6 grantees, all of us, are at the table looking at what this will look like. But what would go into that data system would be information on our families that we're serving, because the goal is to have a citywide view of early learning. Right now, we know that there's the goal of being able to, at the state level, say how all children are being served in Illinois. That's the goal. City of Chicago wants to be able to see how all children are being served. That's the goal. In order to do that, there's got to be a connected system, which we do not have. Everything sits somewhere else. This will align with that, meaning that INCRA is at the table, and also, IDHS holistically is at the table. CPS is at the table for, PFAPI. So we're all there at the table talking about what this would look like. You're going to get a lot more information about what this means for data. But what this means for us is finally being able to see across and having a lens, for example, of children who you've worked with, many of you from birth through 5 who transitioned off to kindergarten. We'll be able to have a holistic view and be able to see what children are doing and faring on the other side of all of this. When they leave us for kindergarten, that data will show. And so this is the goal. This is where we're going. This is new for everyone in Illinois, because this is not what we've done. We've always pigeonholed data. That's what I've always called it. But now we're going to be moving to a much more holistic view. And so know that this is coming down the pike. As soon as I have more great information to share with you beyond what I'm saying to you today, we're going to come back, because what I need all of you to understand is if we DFSS, along with other grantees, are in this data system, that means your data is what's in that system. We acknowledge PII, or personal identifiable information, and the security and all of that, and how we need to protect all of this data. And that's what we're trying to do, and make sure that whatever system is stood up, that we can give you that confidence that we understood that. The call I was on before was with our AIS, or Information Systems team, here at the city level, and also our attorney along with the mayor's office and our leadership here at DFSS, talking about the documents that we're seeing and making sure that we've covered everything we need to cover, that we've dotted all of our I's and crossed all of our T's before we move forward with this new data system that would have data that we currently house in our COPA system. Everyone is being asked to allow their data to go into this mass system so that it can then be aggregated and analyzed, and then reports can come from that, really, as I've explained, to see how children are faring who are in these early learning programs. What does that mean to all of you? Everybody's going to be able to see. And if everybody's going to be able to see, we definitely need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our children moving forward and getting ready for kindergarten. You're doing a great job already. Please don't think for a moment that I'm not saying that to you, because I look at the data all the time for TSG and how our children are doing. I know there was some impact from COPA, and I know we have some work to do as we move forward. But know that our data won't just sit in one house. Our data will be open for the state. And we want to make sure as we're moving in that direction that we've thought through what is that data going to look like? What do we need to do or change? I know we've done a lot of training around class and other, teaching strategies, GOLD and all these things. And we're going to continue to do those because we still want your teaching staff, and I've already heard you, down teaching staff, got to get more. We got to do all of those other things to make sure we're ready for this. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the children that are coming through our doors who are with us are moving forward and are kindergarten ready and are progressing by third grade and beyond, and that they've gotten everything they need from us as they're with us. And so people will be able to see it. People will want to learn from it, because again, our doing this in the city of Chicago will be a model for other people to see. So again, I know other people will want to see it. As we were doing our data warehouse that we've already put together is being used as the model that's going to be creating this new system for the state of Illinois. And so again, I'm going to open up the door for you in January and show you what some of these dashboards that we put together look like. And it'll give you an idea of what some of the dashboards will look like as we build this new system that I've just discussed. And so there's a lot of stuff moving, a lot of moving and shaking, a lot of changes here in Illinois. And we are going to bring some of those people to our table to talk to you about all of these changes in Illinois so that you are much more aware of what's going on around you, because you need to know who's at what table, what communications and things are happening. But the last thing I'm going to say is keep your eye and ear on Build Back Better. There's a lot of money in there, but at the end of the day, what that means is the state systems will shift in response to that, because the dollars will come to the state. Our governor and team will be looking at how the dollars will roll out into the state of Illinois. We know that there may be some additional dollars that will come directly to Head Start. So more to come. Keep your eyes and ears open as we move forward. Stop for a moment again to see if there's any questions. All right, seeing no hands raised and no questions coming into the chat, what I'm going to say, oops, I see Carmen, do you have a question? You're muted, Carmen, if you're trying to say anything.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It pops up on the screen. I just want to acknowledge. All right, thank you. Seeing no questions in the chat and no hands raised, I want to thank everyone and also say to everybody, have a safe and healthy holiday season. We are ending our last EDPD of 2021, and I look forward to being with and seeing all of you in 2022. So please stay safe, stay healthy, continue to do all of what you have been doing. You have been doing an exceptional job serving children and families here in 2021. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Be well. Look forward to seeing you in 2022. And I can't believe I'm saying 2022 already. This year has seriously moved really fast. I don't know who else feels that, but I sure do. So I thank everyone. Have a great one. And thanks for spending time with us today. Take care, everybody. Thanks, everyone.